Chess is a noble and regal game. It is a game as old as time, born from old ancient scriptures lost to the ages. It's a game where the meek is culled from the strong. And it serves as a great base for a wicked good drama show, so thus The Queen's Gambit was born. The novel by Walter Tevis turned show, of course, not the opening chess moves. So, is The Queen's Gambit a show worth your time? Yeah, it is. But we'll go into the fine details in this review. And if you're looking for a completely spoiler-free review, click here. I will try to minimize spoilers in this review though, up until the analysis anyways. So, let's get started. The show focuses on Beth Harmon's life in the 1960s and her chess-playing career. We see her tragic opening of being an orphan and her arrival at an orphanage. There she lived a rough life until she met Mr. Scheibel, a wise janitor mentor who played chess and began teaching her the game. Thus, she fulfilled her superhero origin story and triggered her innate secret genes of visualizing chess matches in a really cool special effect above her head. Her special power is unrefined at first, but she begins to train it. Then, as she grows up, she employs her superpower and destroys other incredibly powerful chess masters and grandmasters from all over the world, not in a battle to the death, far worse, but by humiliating them in high-stakes monetary tournaments. But in my opinion, the story isn't about the chess games. It's about the struggles Beth Harmon faces, both on an internal and external level. The story is more about how Beth got to these tournaments. It's about the intensity Beth and her opponent feels as they employ their strategies. It's about the fragile nature of Beth's mind. It's about the relentless pressure of life's problem weighing on her psyche. The focus of The Queen's Gambit isn't on the technical details during a chess game and how clever a person demolishes someone in a mere 21 move. It's about the human element. And that's what I love about it. You don't have to be a world-class chess player to understand and appreciate The Queen's Gambit. You can just be a normal person with problems in the real world and can easily relate to Beth. Just about anyone can pick up The Queen's Gambit and enjoy it. And to depict how awesome The Queen's Gambit is, we have stellar set designs, costumes, and cinematography. What Queen's Gambit does really well is that they aren't constrained by one area. Instead, they span literally across the whole globe with a wide variety of locations. We get to see a cold, stoic orphanage in a cold, blue-gray landscape before going to a warm, orange 1960s family suburban home. We go to a wooden college gym for a regional chess tournament before heading to an orange-hued, burned Las Vegas for a grand final. We go from a bougie, fancy 5-star hotel in Europe to a white, snow-draped Moscow. The landscape and set design is surprisingly varied in The Queen's Gambit, and their set design is one of the best points for the series because you'll never be visually bored. For the costumes, we get the classic 1960s retro vibe. The thing is, we don't just get 1 year of the 1960s, we get a whole decade. We get to see how clothing changes as people grows up, what comes into fashion, and people's profession. We see Beth go from her hand-knit clothes to the orphanage's uniform, to a family budget clothing store, to a chic Audrey Hepburn rebel vestment vibe as she goes through different stages of life. It's fascinating to see human culture change on a whim too. And finally, they have solid cinematography. Their uses of colors are staggering. They aren't going to be blasting you with Lucky Charms and Tricks colors fused together in a cauldron all the time. But they will be employing a wide spectrum of colors to keep you interested. They don't go over the top with special effects or crazy camera movements. Instead, they focus on subtle camera movements that are all deliberate and well done. For example, they focus on the faces of the chess combatants and the intensity of them as they win or lose. Another example. As one of Beth's old acquaintances regales her with tales of her life, it pans slowly to some inebriant beverages under her shopping cart, implying a little, liquid courage in the afternoon. It's just really solid cinematography overall, and they never become obnoxious about overusing a particular technique, such as a close-up. Sound-wise, it's kind of hard to screw up. I mean, you really have to try and screw up the sound of a chess piece smacking the board. But outside of that, the sound is solid. They probably boosted the depth of the chess pieces clacking against the board or something. But what about the music? The music is pretty good, and paradoxically, most of it isn't memorable. I'm not saying the music is bad, alright? I'm just saying the music plays a secondary role in enhancing the given scene. it's not going to overshadow the current situation and the tensions trying to build up. So, how would I describe the music in The Queen's Gambit? I'd describe it as slow, smart, classical orchestra music most of the time. And when it breaks the mold, it's often by high-energy surge music that jolts you out of the moment, or by a meteoric rise in orchestra tempo. And the main theme is one of the few memorable pieces out there because there's so many different variations and reprises of it. And they all play when Beth is about to do something crazy or cool or slick. So whenever you hear the theme kick in, the audience knows that Beth is going to do some Batman-level shenanigans. And you know what else is pretty cool about The Queen's Gambit? The chess games are all accurate. They brought on Garry Kasparov, former world champion, and Bruce Pandolfini, US Chess Federation National Master and chess coach, to help design their games. Every single move the players made were all planned out by these high-level players, and Queen's Gambit does an excellent job of showing how a series of strategy is played out. Instead of other shows only showing a single move, and displaying the smug face of a victorious player afterward, Queen's Gambit shows a series of chain of moves before Beth activates her trap card. Sometimes these chains happen in rapid sequences, suggesting the players already planned well far in advance and are willing to take these massive trades. Other times they show slow, ponderous movements, depicting the sudden surprise a player may be experiencing. It's awesome and a huge boon if you're a chess fanatic. But between you and me, all these strategies and tactics they used, they kind of went right over my head. But the intense drama and character development, that didn't go over my head. That thing hit me like a season finale for Futurama. It's outstanding and well written. Queen's Gambit does an excellent job of keeping its cast small, so we don't have like 2 billion characters with 200 million loose ends like other shows. Small and concise and goes in depth with these characters. That's what I liked about Queen's Gambit. And we're about to go into some major spoiler territories on my thoughts on character developments and some in-depth analysis, so I'm giving you all a heads up. If you want to skip these spoilers, then click on this timestamp here. All good? Alright, let's go. Beth Harmon's superpower of being able to visualize chess and using said visualization to destroy high-level chess players is fun and all. It lets us see all these crazy cool anime chess battles between Beth and other grandmasters. But the drama and character development stems mainly from her various types of struggles. Look, she was an orphan that had a massive rift between her parents. She was an older child in an orphanage and faced loneliness. She lost connection with her best friend Jolene in the orphanage as well, and she became addicted to medical pills at an insanely young age. These obstacles impeded Beth on happiness and understanding herself. Even when she was adopted into a home, she still faced even greater problems. High school became a nightmare as she was ostracized by the general student body, and on top of that, now she felt confused about romantic attractions because she's at that age. Along with a dysfunctional adopted family where her father eventually abandons them, yeah, she doesn't exactly have a pleasant life. And when her mom learns that she can make money playing chess, I honestly had a very hard time believing that she was supporting Beth because she loved her. Like, do you really love her? Or do you need her because you both needed some way to pay the bill after the father abandoned them? It's all very gray zone from that point on, and overall it's pretty hard to read the mom, which makes her a very fascinating character. Even though she has all these hindrances, Beth still presses on alone, which is a huge double-edged sword. For most of the series, Beth learns to be a solo fighter and never takes help from anyone. And if she runs into problems, she falls back on drinking and pills, a very unhealthy habit that can literally kill her. She even became kind of a jerk at one point. But then we have the other chess players she defeats. Those players also have crazy character developments that mirrors real life too. Before we continue on my thoughts on Beth, we have to look at some of these characters. Starting with Towns. The first high-ranking chess player Beth defeats, and one of the early characters to treat Beth with some form of admiration and respect. I think their relationship is complicated, alright? Beth is infatuated with him, but he's only admiring Beth's chess skill. He's charming and charismatic, and unfortunately for Beth, disappears from her life partway through. It all makes sense too, because he chose to focus on his career as a journalist instead of a chess player. It probably caused a lot of trauma for Beth because she occasionally mentions him during his MIA phase, like a lost love or something. And Harry Beltik. Man, this guy was one of the strong contenders to become a Grandmaster. He's introduced initially as the regional Kentucky state champion and loses to a first-time Beth. He becomes infatuated with her after his loss, which I think is totally reasonable. He even got his teeth fixed for her. But his story and development mirrors a lot of real life story. He gave up on chess. He realizes that he doesn't have the same drive as Beth, and he needs to finish college and took a part-time job to pay for it. It's kind of like real life slapping him in the face. I mean, he didn't do poorly in chess. He still ended up as a master's. Just not a grandmaster. His dream. And when he saw Beth in a downward spiral in her life, he did what he could to help her break out of that downward spiral. He even opened up and admitted to Beth his romantic feelings for her. But he also threatened that he can't stay with her if she keeps up the self-sabotaging lifestyle she had going. And soon enough, he disappears from Beth's life. It's a tragedy too, because his story is in so many ways similar to many people's real-life story. And then there's Benny. Benny is one of 3 people to defeat Beth in a chess match, the other 2 being Mr. Scheibel and Borgov. Mr. Scheibel gets a technicality because he defeats her when she's learning, which still counts, okay? But Benny, he's the US champion that trounces Beth the first time they met. And their first encounter was tense and I loved it, because he implied that he had the same capabilities as Beth too. He's able to see black and white shapes moving on some kind of checkered imaginary surface in his mind. But the key difference between Beth and Benny when they first met is Benny is sober and clean, not a single pill in his system. And yes, of course, he drinks like an Irish lad on St. Patrick's Day, but never before a game. And on top of that, Benny just looks cool. I mean, come on, look at him. When he showed his knife, you can't say that he's not Crocodile Dundee. He's like some kind of cool chess-playing Australian that looks surprisingly like he's still in high school, despite being in his mid-20s to early 30s. I think it might be his warging abilities that's keeping him young or something. Anyways, this guy handed Beth her first real loss. It's oddly enough kind of satisfying seeing Beth lose at her own game, because she was getting kind of a huge ego. Kind of like giving her a slice of humble pie. But the important thing is Benny respects her, and when Beth loses to Borgov, he wants to help Beth overcome her internal problems so she can rematch with Borgov. It's very uplifting to see him love chess this much. We even see his beat up New York apartment and how much he spends his tournament winnings trying to help chess institutions develop, instead of on crazy luxuries. Which means it's even more painful when Beth implodes and abandons Benny's helps and continues her downward spiral into her various addictions. And when she finally goes back to Benny for help, he kind of feels betrayed, you know? So he rejects her and seems to disappear from her life as well. Ouch. So, at the lowest low in her life, when Borgov smashes her twice in chess, what happens to Beth? Jolene, Beth's only orphanage friend, returns from out of nowhere to reconnect with Beth. Jolene is an awesome character for being the angel in disguise, literally coming out of nowhere to help Beth sort out the mess she has made for herself and help pay for her trip to Moscow to face off in the World Championship. And yeah, I'm going to admit that it was a bit out of the blue. But you know what? It was pretty gratifying seeing them finally reconnect. The biggest tragedy, though, is probably when they went back to the orphanage to attend Mr. Scheibel's funeral. And what can I say about Mr. Scheibel? He was the Obi-Wan character, the mentor, the one that taught Beth how to play chess. And he believed in her. He gave her the initial seed money to enter her first tournaments. And the heartbreaking thing wasn't that she didn't pay him back. It was that Beth never talked to him again. While Mr. Scheibel was keeping track of all of Beth's tournament plays. He was proud of her, and Beth never knew. He had the saddest, most tragic ending of all. And I think this was the moment that Beth learned that people are proud of her and care for her, and that she's hurting them with all of this damage she's inflicting upon herself between isolation and addiction. And so, with Jolene's intervention and the death of Mr. Scheibel, Beth can finally begin healing herself. And Borgov, there really isn't much to say about him. People may think he's the big bad villain of Queen's Gambit, and I get it. He's painted as this unstoppable chess player that vanquishes everyone he plays against into atoms, like he has some kind of infinity gauntlet. But let's be real here. The real villain is Beth's own inner demons, and Borgov is a test to see if Beth can defeat these demons. So, when she heads over to Moscow and begins climbing the tournament ladder, she feels lonely and becomes tempted with her happy green pills again. But you know what happens? She learns that she isn't alone. All the people that Beth met along the way, Towns, Beltik, Benny, and all these other colorful positive additions to her life, they all rallied behind Beth in her time of need. They supported her on a technical level by helping her analyze her games with Borgov. But more importantly, they supported her on an emotional level and helped her cast aside her addiction. And Towns, not so much on a technical level, but more of a, we're still friends and we're clearing up some bad air type level. And oh geez, I cannot tell you how satisfying it was when she flushed those pills down the toilet and confronted Borgov as a clean and sober person. It's so cathartic, like smashing the like button in this video, which you should totally do. It's so satisfying when she does her cool superpower visualization without those pills to defeat Borgov, implying that she finally achieved her true potential. And all with the power of friendship. And some other things between the sheets too, but mostly friendship, okay? And the final scene where she's wearing the white dress, walking down Moscow's park to play some chess games and is being treated as a celebrity, it's just so cool and chic and such a rewarding end, because when she goes back to the US, she knows that she's not alone, that she has conquered her own inner demons, and most importantly, she is the world champion, baby! Woo! So, would I recommend Queen's Gambit? Yes, definitely. If you want an excellent drama with drastic twists and turns and emotional pulls, definitely take a look at Queen's Gambit. Remember, the show isn't 100% about chess. It's a story about the life of a chess player and all the pains of real life. If you have some spare time and want to watch a show, then yeah, I also highly recommend Queen's Gambit too. It's short and doesn't have like a billion episodes, so you can definitely fit it in a weekend if you really wanted to. But if you're looking for some violent action or cool battle sequences, then yeah, outside of Beth completely eviscerating her opponent in a chess game, you're not gonna get that here. Instead, I'm gonna direct you over to my Castlevania review instead. But yeah, between the beautiful set designs, flashy colors, complex characters, thoughtful writing, accurate chess matches, and powerful emotional pulls, Queen's Gambit is a fantastic show. One of the definite highlights of a pretty wonky 2020. So let me know what you thought of this review. Leave a like if you thought the video was entertaining. Subscribe for other reviews or random facts. And if you play chess, comment below what's your favorite chess moves or opening. Mine probably has to be the wooden shield attack. What's the wooden shield, you may ask? It's this.
That's called the wooden shield. It's the wooden shield, look. Bing, no. Bing, bang, pow, bing, boom. Quad. That's the wooden shield. It's the wooden shield.
Yeah. The unstoppable wooden shield. You know, people make fun of the wooden shield, but it's still better than this.
Guys, I did the classic move of the ice skater.
He's
The pickaxe, the ice climber, the wobble, the juicer, the lord. We did the backwards catapult. The scissor lift did it. We did the backwards frozen glasses. He fell for it again, unbelievable did it. We did the broken staircase ladder.